Welcome again to Skill Hub Academy. I'm your host, Celestine Davids. In our previous lesson, we were able to register a domain, purchase web hosting, and install WordPress. And today we are going to look at some site settings, tools, and user management. There are some basic settings you must configure on your website as soon as you finish your WordPress installation. So let's take a look at them. Remember, to be able to make any changes to your website, you will need to log into your dashboard. That is the WordPress admin area. To do that, you have to enter the admin URL of your website on your browser and press enter. So in this case, this is our admin URL, which is the domain cacheoverflowsecrets.com/wp-admin. So you should always enter your admin URL on the browser and press enter on your keyboard. So that's going to take you where you will be able to log into your website. So from here, you'll be able to log in with the email address you registered with your domain or your username. During your WordPress installation, you created a username and email address. You'll be able to log in with that email address or the username you created from here and the password. You just need to enter that information here and click login to take you to the dashboard. All right, you've successfully logged in. This is your admin area and you can see your dashboard menu from here. So if you scroll down a bit further, you'll see settings. So under settings, there are 6 or 7 different kinds of default settings we can do. Right? The first setting here is general. The second is writing, reading, discussion, media, permalinks, and privacy. So these are the default WordPress settings which are of importance to us. So as soon as you install WordPress and launch your website, you have to come to your dashboard and configure some settings from here. So let's take a look at each of them and see what we'll be able to configure. Beginning with the first option here, which is the general setting. So you only need to point to settings and click on the setting item you want to configure. Right, these are the general setting options. The first thing we can do here is to set the site title. Well, you can enter the title of your website here, and the next option is the tagline, which will let you briefly explain what your website is all about. And then the third option here is your WordPress URL. So by default, these two options are selected. So you may leave them the way they are because this is right. This is your admin URL, which contains the protocol and the domain name. So the WordPress URL is the same as your site address or URL. A URL is short for Universal Resource Locator, which is the web address of a particular web page. And the next option here is the administration email address, your admin email address. So if you want to configure an admin email address, here is where you enter the admin email address. Let's say you signed up with a Gmail address or even a Yahoo address, and you set up a custom email address such as this admin@cashflowoverflow.com. All you need to do is come here and enter the admin URL, and when you're done, you go down and click on save. Right? So the next option here is something of importance which you really need to take note of. It is the membership. I remember someone asked me in the comments if they'll be able to create a WordPress website that will, give members or users access to their website, so they'll be able to log in and they'll be able to register on the website and log in whenever they want and have access to certain portions of the site. Of course, yes, out of the box, WordPress comes with that functionality whereby anyone can register. You can allow people register on your website even without using any membership plugins. So we'll talk about membership plugins later, but first of all, let's see how you can let people access to your website as members. So to be able to create that functionality whereby people will be able to register on your website and log in to have access to some portions of your website whenever they have need to, you need to activate the membership option here. You have to check it from here. So once you check it like this, people will be able to, your users will be able to register on your website. Without checking it, no one will be able to register on your website. So if you want people to have the ability of registering on your website, you need to check it. So anyone can register. Now, the next option which you have to consider seriously is the user role. If somebody registers on your website, what role do you want to give to them? That's very important. So if if you don't consider this seriously, you might mistakenly give somebody admin access to your website, and that might not be what you want or what you intend to do. So the default option is subscriber. If a user registers on your website, they are automatically given a role as a subscriber. So a subscriber has basic access to your website. They can't alter settings on your website. They might post in the comments, they might have access to one portion of your website or the other, but they won't have admin access, and they definitely won't have access to make some changes on your website which you don't approve of. So if you want to just give those users access to your website as subscribers, you have to define the role clearly from here. There could be contributors, there could be author. Let's say you have a site where you have different authors, people publishing on your website, creating content or publishing posts on your website. You can give them access as authors. And if you have a user who edits every post that goes through your website, you can give them access as an editor. The administrative role here assigns full privileges of your website to any user you assign this role to. So if you give access to someone on your website as an administrator, they will have full access to your website the same as you do. They can even remove you from the website if they want. So you have to be very mindful of this. If you're giving any, if you're defining roles for your users, unless of course you want them to have full access to your website, don't ever give anyone access to your website as an admin. So the default option is the subscriber role, unless otherwise you want to give them a different role. So the next option you can also change here is the language. The default language of WordPress is English, United States English. So you can change this to any other language that suits you. There are lots of languages you can change to, depends on what you understand best. So normally leave it at the default language, which is US English. Now, you are also from the general setting able to set the time zone. You want to change the time zone, fantastic, you can change it all from here. And then the next option is the date. You can change the format of your date. This is what I've chosen. So you can change this date format to whatever you want from here. And then you can also set the time format from here. when does your week begin? Is it on Sunday? Is it on Monday? You can set even that from here. And some other options which you might also be able to configure from the general setting. When you've done your settings, remember to come down here and click on Save Changes. So those are some of the important settings you can do under the general settings of your WordPress website. So the next option here is the writing. It's still under settings. So what you need to do is come to your dashboard menu, point to settings and click writing. So that will take you to some options which you will be able to configure as well. All right. Under writing settings, basically what you should configure here is the default post category. If you're blogging, for instance, or if you're creating content on your website under different categories, you can create categories for those different sort of content or posts. And we are going to go into we're going to learn how to create categories and tags for our posts later. So if you have created categories and tags for your posts or your website content, you can set the default category from here. What is the default category one in case when you're creating a post on your website and you don't remember to choose the category or assign a category to your post, the post will fall back to the default category. The default category will automatically be assigned to the post. So you can set that from here. You can also choose your blog format, the post format. There are different formats which you can choose from here to assign to your post. You want it to take the standard post format or any of these formats. So you can as well change the settings from here. Otherwise, leave it at the standard post format. So this option here is a bit technical, and it is only required when you want to publish to your website, when you want to create content and publish posts on your website via email. And you should just leave it the way it is for now because you don't really need that. We are going to talk about it as we advance in the course of the training. So for now, you really don't need to do anything here. So you just have to leave it the way it is. So that's basically what you can do from the writing settings. So up next is the reading settings. So let's go down there and click on it and see what we'll be able to configure from there. Yes, here, the first thing we can hear is how we want our home page to look like. What do we want our home, what do we want to be displayed on our home page? If you're creating a blog, like most blogs, for instance, what they do is to display all their latest posts on the home page. And that's, of course, that's very frequently used for blogs. If you're creating a blog, you want your users, whenever they land on your home page, what they should read is all the blog posts, all the latest blog posts you have created. So you can choose this to display the latest blog post on your website. You can, but if you don't want that, you can define a static page. So if you want a static page which you will assign, you have to assign a page. So if you've created multiple pages or series of pages, you can assign any page to be on your home page instead of the blog post. So it depends on what you want your website to look like or your blog to look like. So you can, when you choose a static page for your website, so you need to come down here and assign a page where you want your blog post to be displayed, right? So I'm going to go to one of my websites to explain this practically so you will have a better understanding of how it works. All right, if you take a look at my website, this is the admin area, the dashboard of my website, skillhubdigital.com. If you take a look at my reading setting here, you will see that my home page doesn't show the blog post, right? I rather show a static page as the blog as my home page, and this is the page. So I've created lots of pages on this website, and this is the one I want to display home page. It could be any other page on your website, but this is the one I've specifically designed as my home page. So I come here, select it, and then there is also a page I have where I want my blogs, every blog post I create on my website to be displayed. This is it. So you see, this is the post page and this is the home page. So you can set that for your website as well. So if you go to the front page, front end of the website, you'll see how the home page looks like. Right, this is the home page of my website. This is how it looks like. So there are some people, it depends on the purpose of your website. There are some people homepage shows their latest blog post. And so you configure that. For me, this is my custom homepage. I've designed it in such a way that it features only what I want to show on this homepage. You can take a look at this, and that's all right. So another example is also one of my websites, which is celestindavis.com. And you can take a look at the home page as well to see how it looks like. It is a custom home page created by me right inside my WordPress. So that's what you'll be able to configure from settings under reading to be specific. So we'll move on to the next setting and see to configure from reading. So if you go, then the next option here is to set the number of pages you want to display on your blog post, on your blog page, on your post page. How many pages do you want to display or one single page? Right? I normally leave it at 10. I want to show 10 pages on my blog page. And the syndication feed show, you leave it the same as this. So do you want every post to display in full with all the text, the content of the page, or you want a summary of it with just an excerpt? I think the best practice is to leave it at summary. You want just the heading of the post with an excerpt, so that you won't occupy each post won't occupy the whole page. It will just feature individual posts with a short excerpt for the user to click through and read the post. Something like what you can find on my blog here. Right, this is my blog page. You can see that it has only the posts listed here with a short excerpt which you can click on in order to read the post instead of having the full post displayed on the blog page. You can see each individual post on the blog with a short excerpt beneath it. So that's what that means. So we'll move on to the next setting. And so when you're done with your setting from here, click save and move to the next option, which is discussion. So let's click on discussion and see what we are able to do here. So under discussion, these are the options that are available to us from here. The first option here is to specify whether uh, you want to be notified whenever a blog or any website links to your content. Let's say you publish content on your website and a blog or another website links to it. Do you want to be notified? Or sorry, do you want to notify other blogs when you link to them? If you want that functionality, you can check this option. And if you want to also get pingbacks or trackbacks, that is notifications from other blogs whenever they link to you, you will check this option. And do you want people to comment on your blog post? Of course, you want that option. If you create a blog content, you want people to be able to comment on it. So you come down and check this option. And these are comment settings which are very important. So the first option here is to check this if you want the comment author to leave their name and email address. That's very important. This will help you reduce the rate of spam on your website. It is very vital that you check this option so that for somebody to be able to comment on a post on your website, they'll have to leave their name and email address. And if you want users to have users to log in to your website before they comment, you have to check this option. And how long do you want users to have the ability of commenting on a post? Let's say you can say, okay, fine, I have a post. If I create a post on my website or my blog, I want it to, uh, I want users to be able to comment on it for 1,000 days. So after anything after 1,000 days, I don't want any post, I don't want any comment again on that post. So if you want, so you can set the number of days here as you want. It could be 600 days, it could be less, it could be more. So if you set this option, the next thing is to decide whether you want to show cookies to the users whenever they are commenting on your blog post. And then you can set comments in a thread, and you are also able to split comments into pages. So those options are what you can set from comment settings, right? The next option here is also very important. So whenever somebody posts a comment on your website, you want to get notification of it. So you have to come down here and check this option. And also check this option if you want a comment to be held for moderation before you can approve of it. It is very important to help you reduce spam on your website. And check this option if you want comment to be approved manually, every comment to be approved manually. All right, this is what I normally check for every of my website or blog. I want the ability to manually approve every comment before it is published on my website. And the next option here is you can check this option. If this option is unchecked, you can check this option, right? Which this means if you check these options, users you have previously approved their comments will be able to post a comment on your website and it will be automatically approved. So if that's what you want, you can check this. But to fight off spam, I advise to leave this unchecked and only check this so that every comment left on your website, you'll be able to review it before you approve of it. And then still under comment moderation, you can define the number of links you want. You can, set a rule here. Let's say if a comment has more than one link in it, you want it to be held for moderation. So you can set that from here. This will help you fight off spam. There are a lot of people who will just infuse so many links in comments, irrelevant links, just to spam your website. So you can set that from here. So if a comment has more than one link, it has to be held for moderation. This is very important in case you configure, you allow automatic comment approval on your website. So you are also from here able to define certain IPs. You can include certain IPs here, certain URLs, certain names, certain email addresses. You can include them here, and WordPress will hold those IPs, email address, names, and so on and so forth that you include here. So anything you include here will be held for moderation automatically. So if you let's say there is there's somebody who is spamming your website consistently, you can just include their IP here or their email address here, or but each time the person leaves a comment on your website, it has to be held. So it is one of those settings you can do from here. And if you want to blacklist certain IPs, certain email addresses, or even certain users from commenting on your post, you can include those from here. And then the next option here is the user avatar. The avatar is a display picture of users on your website. So if you want to assign pictures, different display pictures to your users on your website, you can set that from here. And remember, when you're done with all the settings, click Save Changes. And the next setting, the next option under the settings menu here is media. Under media, we are able to define the sizes for our thumbnails, for our images, and every media content published on our website. Uh, you can upload photos or any sort of image on your website, and when you upload an image, what size do you want the thumbnail to be cropped? So the default size is 150 pixels by 150 pixels, so you can leave these default sizes unless of course you want to define a specific size. So this is your media size, whether it is an image or a video. What is the medium size of it? So you can decide what figure you want from here. So your image sizes, your media sizes your media come in three sizes. It comes as a thumbnail. There's also the medium size, and there's also the large size. So you can decide the sizes from here. These are the default sizes. You can change them to whatever suits you. And finally, click Save Changes when you're done. So the next option here is permalinks. This is very important to us. One of the most important settings you must do when you install WordPress. You must always do this setting before you create any content on your website. So the permalink setting is where you decide your URL structure. Your URL is the full web address of every single page on your website. The URL is short for Universal Resource Locator. It is the address that links to a unique page. Every page on your website has a unique address, right? Every page on the internet, not just on your website, has a unique address. So how do you want this address to be structured? That is the permalink settings. So the first setting here is plain, and this is how it looks like. This is how it looks like. This is this doesn't really um, it doesn't make sense, because you can't really understand what the URL is about, what the page is about here. And not just the user, even search engines don't understand what this page is about, right? So as a best practice, you shouldn't choose this for your URL structure. The second option here is, how do you want the pages on your website to appear? How do you want the URL to appear? How do you want the permalinks to be? So the second option here is to include the day, that is the full date of the page, full date the post or the page was created, in addition to the name of the post. To your URL, as something like this, there are some large publications like newspapers that use this format, but for a small business, or if you're just starting out blogging, I wouldn't advise you use this. The next option is to include the month, the year and month on your URL. And here, you're only assigning numbers. You give numbers to your pages and posts. The best practice is to choose post name. This is the best practice. This is what will enhance your pages for search engines, right? The goal of every website or every web page is to rank well on search engines. You want search engines to quickly understand what your pages are about, and you also want your users to have an idea when they look at the URL. They need to, for instance, you want to share a link with someone. Looking at it, they should quickly understand what they are clicking on, what the page is all about. So this is the best practice for SEO, which is short for search engines optimization. If you take a look at my some of my pages here, for instance, this is a blog on this website. This is a blog page on this website, and this is the heading of the post: the beginner's guide to measuring Facebook ads performance. So if you look at the permalink, this is the link. It contains the keywords here, which are measuring Facebook ads performance. This makes more sense to search engines because they will easily understand what this page is all about, and it will help you rank on search engines. Additionally, it gives the user a good experience. Looking at the link alone, of course, they will understand what they are clicking to, and it improves the overall user experience, thereby helping you to also rank well on search engines. So that's a very vital setting here. Your permalink structure should always be the post name. It should contain the post name by default alongside the name of your domain. So that's that. We'll come into category based and tag based later when we create tags and category for our post. So for now, haven't configured this setting, come down and click Save Changes for the changes to be applied on your website. So the last option on the setting list here, remember these are the default settings. There could be more settings as you progress, but the basic default settings are 7. So we've talked about general, writing, reading, discover links. So now let's take a look at the privacy setting. The privacy setting lets you choose your privacy page. It is mandatory for you to have a privacy policy page on your website. It is a best practice. If you're creating a website, you need to let users know how you handle their private information. You're collecting information on this website. How do you handle it? Why? What sort of information do you collect? Why do you collect the information? How do you process the information? How can they request for that information when they need it? So you have to state all that in your privacy policy. This is especially important if you are based in a European country, or if you're doing business in European countries where GDPR is enforced. You need to let users know how you handle their personal data on your website. So by default, WordPress comes with a privacy policy page, which you can use. You can use it, or you can choose your own, create your own privacy policy page and assign it here. So that's what you can set from the privacy setting here. So next up is, let's take a look at tools and see what options are available to us and what they actually mean. All right, here are some of the important default WordPress tools which you can access from your dashboard. The first one is the import tool. This tool is important when you want to move content from one service into WordPress. Let's say you have you have some content, some blog post on your Blogger website or Blogger blog. You can import it from there through this function. You can install the Blogger import tool, and you are also able to convert categories to tags and vice versa. Uh, from here, if you install this, you have the ability to be able to convert categories into tags and your blog tags into categories. Generally, what the import tool lets you do is to import content from different sources. It gives you the ability to move content from different sources into WordPress. Let's say you have content in this blogging platform, Live Journal, movable type and typepad, RSS, Tumblr, and even if you have content in another WordPress website which you want to move into this website, you have the ability to uh, install the importer, and once you do that, you will be able to import content from another website into your WordPress, your new WordPress site. And the next option here is export. So the export function is uh, the direct opposite of the import function. So unlike import, this lets you export content from your WordPress website to a different source entirely. Let's say you have another WordPress website and you want to export content from this website into it. You will come here and choose what sort of content you want to import. You can import only the media content on your website, or you can import only certain pages. You just need to define the range of pages you want to export from here. You can export only posts by clicking here and choose what post you want to export from this website. And you may choose to export all content of your website here. You export it into a single XML file. And once you do that, you'll be able to import it into a different service or into a different website altogether. So all you need to do is click on what you want to export and click download export file. This is going to generate an XML file for you. You look at it. It's going to generate an XML file for you, and once the file is generated, you will be able to import it into uh, a different blog, a different website, be it WordPress or any other platform that accepts this file format. So that's that for that. The next option here, which is of importance to us, is export personal data. So why is this setting important? Why is this tool important, by the way? Let's say you have a user on your you have users on your website. It is within their rights to, at one time or the other, request their personal information from you. You know, a user might request to know the sort of information you have of them in your website. So you have a membership website where users register, they supply certain information. They may like to request information from you. You need to, it is within your right, it is their legal right to demand the sort of information you have of them in your website. They demand to know it. So they can send you a mail requesting for their personal information from you. So what you need to do is come here. WordPress makes it very easy for us to generate uh, generate the personal information you have of any user on your website. So you only need to come to tools, point to it, and click export personal data. Once you click on that, a window is going to open up like this. So what you need to do is come to this box and enter the username of the user or the email address. Which of them you enter here, click send request. This is going to generate uh, the personal information of that user. Of course, before that is possible, a mail is going to automatically be sent to the user to verify that they want that information. A mail is going to be sent to the user. They have to consent to it that they actually want their personal information from you. So once they confirm the mail, you will be able to generate their information from here. So once that information is generated, you can mail it to the user. And that is how it works. The tool is very important. The next option here is erase personal data. Right? This is also a very important tool. Assuming a user doesn't want you to keep their information on your website any longer, they can demand that you have their information erased completely from your website. So what you need to do is come here and click erase personal data. Point to tools, click erase personal data. So as with the case with exporting personal data, you will have to enter the email address or the username here and send request. And similarly, an email will be sent to the user for them to confirm that they actually want their personal data completely erased from your website. So it's an automatic process. You don't need to do anything else. You only need to come to tools, point to it, and click erase personal data. And then from this window, just enter the username or email address, click send request. Once you send that request, the user will receive an email for them to confirm that they want that information erased from your website. So once they confirm it, their information will be automatically erased on your website. So that's how it works. Those are some of the default WordPress tools which are important to us. We've talked about the settings which you must do when you create your WordPress website. We've also talked about some important tools which are which you must know when you're managing a WordPress website. Now, let's take a look at how you can manage users on your website. Right, still under your dashboard, there is the user menu. So if you point to users, you'll be able to see all users that have registered on your website. If you click here, uh, you'll be able to see all the users that have registered on your website. This is it. So the next option here is add new users. So there are times you'll be required to add a user manually on your website. Like in my case, for instance, there are times, okay, I have a course. I have a couple of courses I sell online. And normally the process is you land on my landing page, you check out from there. And once you check out, and you create an account automatically. And once that is done, you will have immediate access to the website. You have immediate access to the courses which I have created on my website. But then there are some times I am required to add users manually, and that is because we all know how things work in this country. A lot of people don't find it convenient to buy stuff online. They can't. Some don't even have functional credit card, debit cards, where they are able to check out on your website and create an account automatically on your website. So what I do is I give them options to pay manually. If you sign up for my course, for instance, um, you can't check out on the website, maybe because you don't know how to do it, or because you don't have a debit card or a credit card. Fine, I give you an option to pay to my bank account. So you pay directly to my bank account. Once I confirm the payment, I'll have to come here and give you a role uh, automatically. So I'll have to add you as a user first on my website. So that's one use case. Or there are other use cases. So once I click on add new user, I'll be able to create a new user on my website. First of all, I'll come here and enter the username. I'll enter your email address. I'll enter your first name, last name, and other information as required. And a password would also be automatically generated like this. I might change it. Good. So what I'll do is, after that, I'll check this option to send you an email when I have added you on my website. Send the user an email about their account. So lastly, I'll define the role I want to give you on my website. This is very important. It's very, very important. So what role should I give you on my website? I'll have to define it, but I'll never give you this role as an admin on my website, unless, of course, you're a partner. So when I do that, I just come down here and click add user, and a user will be created automatically on my website. So let me demonstrate it practically so we can see how it works. I've had a couple of people signed up for my course, and what they do is pay manually, pay through bank account. So I'll come here and click add users. From there, what I'll do is enter the information as it pertains to the user. And once I enter the information as required, I come and give you a role as a subscriber on my website. And that is the first step. And then secondly, I'll have to go to my LMS, as my learning management system, to add the user I've created on my website into my LMS and assign them to a particular course. So once I do that, you'll be able to have access to my course. That's how the manual process works. That's how you can create users manually on your website and define roles for them and give them roles. In my case, if you buy my course and you are not able to check out on the website directly, I'll add you as a user first, and then I come to my courses. From the course area, I'll be able to assign a user to the course. And once I do that, you'll be able to have access to the course. So that is how it works. And there are other instances where you you need to add users manually to your website. There is somebody working on your SEO. The person, for instance, checks your website and optimizes it. You can add them as a user and give them a role. If you have a contributor, somebody who posts content, who posts blog posts on your website, you can give them the role of a contributor. The only thing they are able to do, or author, the only thing they're able to do is post, log into your website and access the blog feature where they'll be able to post content on your website. And you can even configure this to hold their posts for moderation, whereby an editor will moderate whatever post. An editor or an admin will moderate the post they have created on your website before it can be published. That's how you manage user roles on your website manually. You can create users, assign different roles to them. For instance, if I have a client, I have a client who has maybe created a website and they don't know how to handle it, they don't know how to set it up fully. But what I will ask them to do is to go to their dashboard and add me as a user. If they add me, I'll ask them to give me a role. Once they give me a role on the website, say an editor, I'll be able to access their website and edit certain content of their website, right? So that's how to add users on your website. So far, so good. We have learned how to configure certain basic settings on our website. And it is important to do those settings the moment we create our website. You can access the settings function from the dashboard. But we have also learned about certain default WordPress tools and what they all mean for us, how we can use them. We've also learned how to manage user access to our website, how you can add users to your website and assign roles to them. And we've also known about the different use cases where we'll be required to create users manually on our website. So that's what you should experiment with. If you have created your website already, you have to configure these settings before we move into the next setting. So until then, see you tomorrow.